If at the height of his fame, Michael Jackson could fill stadiums with screaming fans and sell out arenas in minutes, then why did the king of pop still live like a man running from something? The answer is simple and terrifying. He escaped his father's physical control, but he never escaped Joseph Jackson's psychological prison. That man didn't just beat Michael, he rewired him. From the moment Michael was 5 years old, Joseph turned his son's childhood into a brutal training camp of fear, shame. Every slap, every insult, every terrifying lesson carved deep patterns into Michael's mind that would follow him for the rest of his life. Patterns that dictated who he trusted, how he saw his own face, why he surrounded himself with children, why he built Neverland, and why, even at the absolute peak of his success, he still felt like that scared little boy who could never be good enough. This is the real story of how Joseph Jackson built invisible chains that lasted decades longer than the physical ones. How every major decision Michael made can be traced straight back to the psychological conditioning he received in that small house in Gary, Indiana. It started innocently enough, or at least it should have. Michael Jackson was just 5 years old when his mother noticed something special. That tiny boy could sing with a voice that didn't belong to a child. Catherine begged Joseph to listen. For a long time, he refused. In his mind, the group already had its star, Jermaine. Michael was just a baby of the family. But Catherine kept pushing, and one day, Joseph finally listened. In that single moment, everything changed. Not because Joseph saw a gift from God in his youngest son. No, Joseph saw a weapon, a golden ticket, a way to finally escape the steel mill and live the dream he himself had failed to achieve with the Falcons. From that day forward, Michael stopped being a little boy. He became the centerpiece of a family business. Joseph didn't raise his children, he trained them. He turned their living room into a rehearsal hall and their childhood into an endless cycle of practice. And in the center of that room, Joseph would sit like a king on his throne, leather belt always in his hand.
What was that like?
Well, I didn't have it that hard because he used me as the example. It was like, do it like Michael. You know, and he practiced us with a belt in his hand. And if you miss a step, expect to be...
Just let me go back. You just said that you would practice the dance steps and your father would be holding a belt in his hand. Is that what you just said?
Yes. And he would tear you up if you missed. And so we, not only were we practicing, we were nervous rehearsing because he sat in the chair and he had this belt in his hand. And if you didn't do it the right way, he would tear you up, really get you.
Joseph deliberately broke the parent-child bond. He didn't want sons, he wanted soldiers, performers who would obey without question. The other brothers suffered too, but Michael got it worse because Joseph knew the family's entire future now rested on those small shoulders. This wasn't parenting, this was manufacturing. Joseph Jackson wasn't building a family, he was building a brand. And Michael Jackson, the sensitive, gifted little boy who just wanted his father's approval, was turned into the engine that would drive the entire machine. Joseph's harsh methods didn't simply teach discipline, they conditioned Michael to associate perfection with safety and any mistake with pure fear. Michael learned early that his worth, his security, and his father's approval all depended on being flawless. That single lesson burned itself into his psyche and never left. This perfection or pain mindset would haunt Michael long after he became the biggest star on the planet. It drove him to rehearse for hours until exhaustion, to demand impossible standards from himself and everyone around him. But Joseph didn't stop at performance. He attacked Michael's very reflection. As Michael entered his teenage years and his face began to change, acne, shifting features, Joseph zeroed in on the most vulnerable target, his son's nose.
What did he actually say?
God, your nose is big. You didn't get it from me.
What does that do to someone who's going through adolescence?
You want to die. You want to die. And on top of it, you got to go on stage in the spotlight in front of hundreds of thousands of people and just, God, it's just hard. I would have been happier wearing a mask. People don't stop to think what they're saying sometime and the effect it can have on a person, you know. Then one cousin would always, you know, look this to me when he see me, like, when I pop my pimples. Like, I would just go to the bedroom and cry, you know.
Those words cut deeper than any belt. They planted a fatal belief in Michael's mind. My face is the problem. I am not enough as I am. Joseph's constant criticism destroyed his son's self-image before it had a chance to form. What should have been normal teenage insecurity became a lifelong war with the mirror. That perfection or pain mindset would haunt Michael through his endless surgeries, his obsession with changing his appearance, and a perfectionism so extreme that he could never fully accept the person looking back at him. Even at the height of his fame and beauty, Michael saw the face his father had taught him to hate. The fear Joseph planted ran so deep that Michael struggled enormously to stand up to him, even when he had all the power in the world. Firing his father as manager at 21? He couldn't do it face to face. The thought alone made him physically ill. But Joseph still had one major card left to play: the family itself. He knew Michael's deep loyalty to his mother and siblings, and he exploited it without mercy. Nowhere was this more obvious or more damaging than during the victory tour. From the beginning, it was clear this wasn't about music or celebration. It was about money. Joseph and the promoters cooked up a controversial lottery system for tickets. Fans had to send in $120 up front just for a chance to buy 4 tickets. If they didn't win the lottery, they faced an agonizing wait of up to 8 weeks to get their money back. It was widely seen as greedy and exploitative, pricing out many of the very fans who had made Michael a superstar. Michael hated it. He understood immediately how much damage it would do to their reputation. But once again, the pressure from Joseph and the family proved almost impossible to resist. Then something remarkable happened. An 11-year-old fan named LaDonna Jones from Texas wrote Michael a heartfelt letter. She had worked small jobs, saving up her own money to see her idol, but she couldn't afford the 4-ticket rule. In her letter, she didn't hold back. She called the Jacksons selfish and greedy. That letter hit Michael like a punch to the chest. It awakened the part of him that still remembered what it felt like to be powerless. Against Joseph's wishes, Michael called a press conference and made a stunning announcement. He forced the tour to change the ticket system and declared he would donate his entire share of the profits to charity. The reaction backstage was pure shock. Joseph and his brothers couldn't believe Michael was willing to walk away from millions. For the first time, the world saw Michael publicly defy his father's control. And during the final show in Los Angeles, Michael stepped to the microphone and dropped the bomb heard around the world.
I'd like to say, this is our last and final tour. And I think this is our farewell tour. You all been wonderful. It's been a long 20 years, and we love you all.
In one sentence, Michael ended the Jackson 5 era in front of a roaring crowd. It wasn't just leaving the group, it was a dramatic, very public escape from his father's grip. But even that victory came at a cost. The childhood conditioning that made it so hard for Michael to break free had forced him into situations that hurt his image and drained his spirit. In the end, Michael Jackson escaped his father's physical control. But the psychological chains Joseph forged in that small house in Gary never fully broke. He built Neverland as a sanctuary, put strict boundaries around his life, and even removed his father's name from his will with cold precision, leaving Joseph nothing when he died.